Hello. 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 I'm good. How are you? That's good. That's good. Um, have you sent me sounds yet? Good. 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 Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. If you kind of want to like just set me aside while I yap along and then mute me or something like that. If you catch anything, then yeah, if you want to like chime in, that's cool as well. But yeah, obviously with yeah, yeah, yeah. There's only one more week, so obviously you want to crack on. And remember, I only need to hear two sounds for feedback out of your 21, right? And then I'll give you feedback, and then you add revisions, so it's 23 in total. Okay. Yeah. Oh, the actual assessment? No, so that's in classwork, and the assessments itself is in. Which one are we in? Classwork, sound designs. Yeah, A and B. Yeah. Sweet. Nice, nice. Okay, I have Jasper here as well. What up? What up? How you doing? Hello, hello. All right. Maybe we'll wait another minute or so. Hey, Kieran, how are you? I think this is the squad. The squad's here. All right, let's get started. Might help if I have Ableton open. So Jasper and Kieran, apologies for my memory because it's not great. But have you sent me sounds for the two sounds for feedback yet? You two? Gotcha. And Kieran, what was that? Said this week. Good. All right. Cool. Cool. Yes, one more week. Yeah, one more week. Jasper, you sent it to my messages? Oh, yeah, yeah. So in class, well, it kind of crosses over, but you can use the kick that you showed me in class to use as your sample pack. That's totally cool. But yeah, yep, yep, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, any. You choose whatever. So what I've been telling people, generally speaking, just send me two of your best or two of your worst, depending what sort of feedback you want to get. So there's yeah, it could be two kicks. I don't care, but obviously better for you if you send like a mixture. So basically, yeah, either use operator or you find like a sine wave and chuck it into simpler to turn it into a kick. What I just don't want to see is a kick to a kick. You know, it goes without saying. It's not that type of class, right? So yeah, if you can synthesize one either using a sampler with sampled waveforms or operator or serum or whatever you choose. Yeah. Goody. All right. So today we're just continuing on with effects because there's not an awful lot. Did any of you maybe had a bit more fun playing with reverbs and delays? With a bit more knowledge of it? Anything to report? Same. Karen, what did you discover with reverb? Did you find some of the last stuff we talked about last week useful? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. And Jasper, what did you think? Did you pretty much across the reverbs and delays already, or did you find some? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely tweaking it helps the music sound better, doesn't it? So fairly important. Jackson, I don't know if you're working now, but how about you? Did you find the reverb delay stuff useful? Yep, good, good. All right, let's continue. So today I'll smash through with the best of my ability because I yap along. But we'll smash through the modulation effects, saturation slash distortion, and spectral dynamics. I'll mention because it's kind of the weird one where it's more of mixing. But I suppose I'll talk about dynamics quickly. Just get out of the way. So compression as an audio effect for creative processes, not for mixing. There's a difference. So as you'll learn in stage 2, compression is used to manage dynamic range. So especially on sounds that are more organic or acoustic, I should say. So let's just, oh, I need a listen to link, don't I? Let's send you that link. Log in, max quality, start stream, link in the chat, coming to you. Yep, jump on that please, and then sort out my own sound off. M4, think about it. Yeah, cool. It's a lot of samples. Let's go to 128. Cool. Alrighty, so compression. We'll just try and find a nice acoustic drum loop. Let's go with breaks, can't go wrong. Let's see here. Something that looks, no, got too many. Let's chuck that into audio. Right. Can you guys hear that? Because I can't. Let's just loop that. You can hear it. Okay. 1 second. That's hilarious. How did you get my audio and I can't hear my own audio? Let's sort that out. Mute when capturing. Way. Mad double up. Let me change that. That's better. Okay. Bet you never heard anyone tell you this. I'm looking at this drum loop, and without taking too much of a guess, I can tell it's been processed and compressed already, right? Nothing too crazy, but it's fairly compressed. Could you have a guess why I know this? What was that? Compressed means compressed means not super dynamic, so it's got minimal difference between loud and soft. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, it's already compressed, yeah. So can you tell? Can you see when I say there's a minimum amount of dynamic range? Transients are there, which is good. The transients are similar. That's our first clue. But let me get everyone here to do something. I want you to look at the waveform and tilt your head to the right. All right. And what you should see is that these peaks, they're pretty even. And I have a couple other notes which are a bit lower, and I have a note that's a little lower here, one here. So that's about 4 or 5 notes that's a bit lower, right? That's okay, but the fact that I have hits that are pretty even, this tells me that it's fairly processed, it's compressed. Now, I'm gonna throw on a compressor and I'm gonna make it worse in terms of dynamic range. I'm gonna chuck a compressor on here and I'll just squash it. So you probably heard the term squash and glue. I'm gonna squash. What's my gain reduction here? Yeah. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call this one pre, this one post. And with Ableton's very handy new bounce track in place feature, what I get, oh actually let's do this again because I'm going to do a more severe version. Yeah. Minus 32. Oh no, plus 32, plus 20. Cool. Super squash. Let's bounce track in place. All right. Whoa, that's a little bit too much, Dave. Jesus Christ. So I've squashed it so much that it doesn't even recognize its previous. But anyway, you can still kind of see it. If you look to the side here, tilt your head to the side, you can see that the loud notes are all exactly the same. Yeah, they're all peaking at max. Yeah, and luckily the little notes are not touched as much, thankfully, because of the setting I used. But in theory, I've taken out the dynamic range, right? And notice how the sound's different too. That first note's just smashed because of the compressor being a bit slow at the beginning because of the setting I had. I had a slower attack time. It's fascinating. Ableton's compressor, it's very sensitive to timing, which is as it should be. A good compressor should allow you to do so. But yeah, you can see how one track is a bit more spicy level-wise, just a little bit, where this one, all the hits are the same. So that's what we mean by compressed, right? Now, when do you add compression? Well, obviously it's not a mixing class, so I'm not going to tell you the answers straight away, but I'll tell you now just so you can keep in your mind. Generally speaking, you put on things like vocals or other acoustic materials to manage the audio level and essentially bring the louds closer to the quiets, so they're more even in terms of energy distribution. Now, as you could probably tell, this being a sound design class, what I've done is I somehow made the first kick sound like the scariest thing in the world. That's a big sound in comparison to the first one. So we just flick, excuse me, flick between the pre and the post. I have gentle kick and big. That's clipping too much, which I can control level by turning it down. And then this one. Now, can you tell the difference between the shape of the kick? Let me just play this again. The first one, the pre, without compression. After compression. What did you notice from that? Clue, the envelope of the sound. Did it change? Yes or no? Yes? No? Did it change? What do you guys think? Play again. So this one, pre, after, and just to round the point home. Let's do that so you can hear it. It disappears quicker. It sure does. Sure does. Well, that's a bit too close together. Let's space them out even more. Why am I doing that? Let's just loop here, silly. That was the same. That was the same sample, same loop. They sound different. So interestingly, the cymbals sound louder here, and it sounds quieter here. That's all because of the envelope settings. Now, what did I do? Also, the big notice is that the kick just died down quickly. But do you agree that the kick also sounds more intense? It's like a real punch versus the first one. Not to say it's not good already, but this one's like, oof. Way more punch to it. So I added punch by using the old trick of slowing down the attack time so the transient of the information of the track comes through first. So that's, the setting I had was roughly 200 milliseconds, which is a lot. I should have done it more like 80, but I wanted to really push it so you can hear it. So I had, at that time, 200 milliseconds, so that's considered slow. And the release was set to really fast, if not the fastest possible. So which means that for this tiny duration of the sound, like we're talking about this much, right? I was saying to the compressor, don't do anything yet. But after this, compress it for me. Yeah? So I got the sound that's more managed. So I basically made the tail a bit more solid sounding, but at the same time, I also added makeup gain. So what happened was there was a lot of gain added to this sound after the compression. So the makeup gain was ridiculous. It was like 20 dB. It was huge. That's why it was like too big before. And that's why I had to turn it down by almost minus 20 again. But what I got instead is a sound that's punchier versus this more splashier dynamic sound, which is at this point, we can't say what's better or what's worse. It's really up to you what you want, right? So if we break this loop out and compare between the two, let's see, we can see the difference. This compressed kick is so damn loud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this and turn the rest up. That's what happens when your attack is too long. The compressor struggles to keep up. So what I would actually do here, which is hilarious, is to compress again. Just a more medium setting. But it's interesting how I went from this sound to this. Dynamic range is lacking, but it's different. So it's one way to use compression as a way to kind of tune it, attune your sounds to different envelopes, which is pretty cool because you can do it after the fact. Not to say that you shouldn't do it from the synth or the engine itself, the sampler itself, but if you can't, if you're using a drum loop, then this is the next thing you can do. You can reshape the sound by using compression. So if you want shorter, slappier, punchier sound, you slow down the attack, you go fast release. So you can catch the transient, boom, and then it'll be sweet. If you want more sustain, coincidentally, you need to work the other way. You want the compressor to act quickly, but you want some release time. And I'd say roughly around 90 to 100 milliseconds. What are these numbers about? Well, it's hard because we don't have a visual, do we? But what actually happens is 90 milliseconds is roughly a sample length, right? Now, are there compressors out there that measure in terms of musical timings? I'm starting to see them now, but it's not common yet. Traditionally, compressors have always been measured in milliseconds, so you might as well get used to the numbering system anyway. It's not too bad. But why I'm referring to this situation where, hey, ideally you want to use an acoustic sound is because, generally speaking, when we're looking at samples we get online, we should do the tilt your head test, I like to call it, the head check, right? Because let's just show you some sounds from some well-known sample libraries like Splice and that. So if I show you something like this, and I do the tilt check, my question to you, and you did a tilt check as well, does this track need a compressor or not? Yes or no? Do I need to compress this? No. The only situation where I want to compress this is if I want to reshape the sound. But if I try to put this sound into the rest of my mix, this is going to be super even and inconsistent. So if anything, I just got to manage the levels because that's pretty strong. Unwarp that. That sounds weird. And another clue is you check your overall meter. When you find samples like this, don't be surprised if they already clipped your channel. Which it is, almost. So naturally what I would do instead these days, from knowledge of mixing now, is I just go, well, turn the bloody thing down. I don't need that much. Check my headrooms. That's more healthy. I can even go less. Actually, I would go less. I'll go -6. Just so I can fit it into the track, right? Whereas if you find, like, if you go to other sample libraries, type in sample here. This one's a bit spicy. Oh, I already compressed that one. Some of these I processed already. Ah, see? That's a fill though, so that's okay. That's okay. That's fairly compressed, although spicy. Like, as in, it's not super consistent. It's okay. Let's see what else we got. That's compressed. What else we got? That's compressed. You see what I mean? Like, you can start seeing it. I'm trying to find something that's not pretty processed. Ooh. To me, that sounds compressed. Other besides looking compressed. Oh, but compared to this looks mega compressed. That's so even. Yeah. So you start developing an eye for it, right? But then if you're tracking guitar, vocals, synths from real synths, drum machines, that's when you should compress. But for when you're using samples or even sound straight from plugins, nah, you don't need as much compression as you think, right? But yes, that's compression. Obviously, I'll be remiss to not mention sidechain compression, although do I need to explain sidechain compression to anyone here? And let's just say you think you're going to be ridiculed for it. You won't. It's just that it seems like everyone knows because that's what they've been told by friends and whatnot. But does anyone need a refresher or a fresh explanation on sidechain? Refresher? Cool. Why is it tied to compression? Good. I love that. I love that question. Now we're thinking. It's not, it shouldn't be tied to compression, but it's how it started, right? If you can cast your mind to the 50s when radios started appearing at home, would you believe there was a time that compression didn't exist, right? And of course, it had to exist because one early problem was if a presenter was too loud or said something a bit too spicy level-wise, it would bust the home radio. So compression was quickly introduced into the broadcasting world to control the vocals. Now, shortly after, a few years later, they were like, but okay, we have a new issue. You ever seen a situation when, or you heard on the radio, I'm sure you blank out the radio now, but let's just say you listen to a song on radio, right? I wonder if I can do this live. I'm sure I can. Let's go to a folder of music. I'm sure I got some. Yeah, that's spicy. Let's go here. Let it load. Don't warp, please. And let's put an audio track. Let's show the inputs. External in. Let's use this microphone. Hopefully I don't double up. I don't think I will. Okay, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, pretend this is early 2000s in UK. We're just going to make this a bit more rough around the edges because I don't know why. I just like. Cool. All right, and I'm about to talk. Here we go. Okay, here we are at Pirate Radio 2274. Number, I know. We're presenting a new track by Burial. The track's called Archangel, the UKG edit. Big ups. Okay, here we are at Pirate Radio 2274. Now, here's the thing. Think about this. This is not clear at all. The music's in the way and I'm in the way. We're both competing. So what do? Do we grab the volume fader and turn it down automatically whenever there's a word? Bad idea. Okay, here we are at Pirate Radio 2. Ain't gonna work. So, compression and specifically sidechain compression was used, and how it was done was very simple. Chuck a compressor on the channel that needs to be triggered. The trigger source is my voice. So I go external, choose my voice, track 5, set the threshold. Okay, here we are at Pirate Radio 2274. Weird number, I know. We're presenting a new track by Burial. Oops. The track's called Archangel, the UKG edit. Big ups. Yeah, you hear that? Okay, here we are at Pirate Radio 2274. Weird number, I know. We're presenting a new track by Burial. Right? So it was born out of practicality, right? So what happened is whenever my voice exceeds a certain threshold, which is this threshold, yeah, you get the situation where this track with the compressor on it gets pulled down, right? So my voice can still be heard. Now, of course, fast forward and a decade or two later, you get the situation where people liked the pumping artifacts, so they applied it to dance music. Dance music always pushes the envelope, production-wise, right? So the compression pumping you hear in music, which of course we can do here. Let's just mute myself. Good old. Actually, no, don't even bother. Keep it simple, Dave. New track. Use pre-existing loops. That's why I got these loops for a reason. Quick examples. Pad. Beautiful. Use a trigger. Let's nick this compressor. See, that's the key thing. Is I got to decide what gets pumped, and I want this pad to go. So I want that. So the compressor goes on that to be pumped track, and I need a trigger. Trigger could be anything, but in the first wave of dance music that uses that technique, thanks to the French producers for that one, you use kicks because it makes sense to go with the foundation groove. Right. Oh yeah, let's break it up. Oh, screw it. Let's just do 4 to the floor. I'm trying to be cute here. Oops. There we go. Join. Duplicate. Okay. Yikes, that's too much. Better set the right source. No wonder that's so weird. So obviously that was the thing, but then obviously people went, well, I don't want to use the kick for everything. I want to use other things. So maybe I'll use a snare or a hi-hat. Why? Because it affects the groove of the pump. Obviously is affected by your notes you place, right? So if I put simple hi-hat, join. And then add some swing because I want a groovy. What's good? What's good? What's good? Cool. So now this sound, I shall use the hi-hat trigger. And it's different from the kick now. Or, I'm sure this goes without saying, you can use any damn thing as a trigger. So using a synth is totally normal. Okay. Doesn't matter what note. So what I'll do is I'll use this weird thing as my input. And of course you don't need to have your trigger audible. So I can just have kick, pad. So obviously you can get into more micro programming. Do it. Make some notes longer. That seems okay. Maybe I'll save this for the end. Make this one short. What's great for me is I don't care about the notes. I care about the rhythm. Then it makes sense why the LA beat scene did what they did. If you know about the LA beat scene, we're talking about Flying Lotus, Mind Design, Sam I Am, people like that. They experimented with different forms of triggers, different kind of grooves, which obviously can affect how this whole thing sounds. Do I have any halftime loops? Probably not. I just want to do this quickly. Let's set this to 174. Unwarp, warp. Take it back down to 90. Yep. Shaker. Yep. So I got this custom groove going on. Question? Is that a question? Screenshots. Nice. He's working. Right. So yeah, that's. I love this trick where you just use anything as a trigger. You can use a synth, and doesn't matter about the sound. I know that's just a standard sine wave, which is noise, and then I guess you can be a bit more tricky and adjust the envelope so they're even sharper. compressor wrong. Got some double notes. Very cool. So yeah, do that. But that's interesting that Kieran's mentioned it. Why is it tied to compression? It's very true. Why is sidechain tied to compression? It's quite traditional, sure, but the thing is there's sidechain triggers or sidechain inputs in a few other devices. So just so you know, there's sidechain gates. And gates are the opposite of compressors. They cut out. So they like take it to zero. Whereas I'm pumping, which is fine, but if I use gate, use the same trigger source and set my threshold. Let's make this a bit busier. Let's set this a bit higher. Threshold down to get this to work. But then you can kind of get this magic spot where it's kind of glitchy. So gates are fantastic, and as you could probably guess, there's this return to a late 90s, 2000s era trance dance technique where they did it to vocals. Let's do it. Let's get it all old school. What I got?
Baila conmigo.
3.
Big Cat Record. It's the boss Rick.
Oh, Celtic. Huh, that'll work. Needs a reverb. Slow it down. It's a heavy kick for what I'm trying to do, but it will work. That's why a custom trigger is perfect for this. So that's another technique, sidechain gate. That was an old school technique because people had gates and they saw they got sidechain inputs in it. So they can trigger the gate to chop things out to create that stutter effect. And a personal favorite that also has a sidechain trigger, of course, is your filter, which is an interesting segue to the next thing we're going to talk about. So I'll show you this. To make it work, set nice and low first because you typically want to send it to a certain direction. We'll start low, send high. So use the envelope follower. Oh yeah, it does. Oh yeah. It's just using an old school effect. Fret again. Bicep made it popular again. Speaking of fret again. Drums I heard. Thunder I heard. That's not again. Not again. I think a storm is coming. Just loop that. There you go. Although, yeah, this is fret again-ish, over mono-ish. All the stuff I like, I suppose. But typically, he would, him and Bicep would pitch this up typically to get that classic. That could be anything, right? So obviously, with modern production, you're not limited to, finite routing. So what I could also do is if I, grab a synth. Anything a bit more dramatic. I don't even know what key this is. Complete guessing. Have a sound that's nice and open. Make it quite big, the sound. And just copy this sidechain trigger. that nonsense. Anyway, it also shows up in multiband dynamics, but I wouldn't say it's as useful for that purpose, for creative purposes. More useful as like a proper de-esser, like a more mixing application. But what I'm saying is use different triggers. Don't just do the classic kick thing. Try hats, try snares. Sometimes I'd use kick and snare. Or I love using the synth trigger, the plug-in trigger, because you can actually more easily program and perform timings. So for example, if I wanted to be really spicy here, arpeggiator, and this is kind of live, so just listen to this. So off, and I'll punch this in this faster repeat. And while we're doing that, we'll also change the speed. And why do we do that? Just to add some dynamics. And you can be practical. You can use one sidechain, you can use multiple sidechain relationships, whatever makes sense to you. I'm already hearing that the kick can be used as a way to trigger my other percussive elements because they're a bit flat. And I'll nick that, put it on this drum loop just to make it better as well. Everything's a bit overcooked, turn it all down. Alright, so that's dynamics effects, and then also dynamics referring to compression and gate. I don't need to talk about limiting because that's more of a mixing thing as well. But yeah, that's dynamics. Useful to reshape, but also to with the sidechain tool to create rhythmic pockets. Very powerful. Especially think about it like this as well. The more samples and presets you use, the higher likely that your mix is going to be extremely dense. And to create more pockets and more headroom and more dynamics, cut that stuff out. Use compression, but in the way of tightening the sound or actually creating pockets with the sidechain. Yeah? Any questions about that? Or can we move on to the spectral stuff? There's definitely a storm happening outside. We good? We good? Thumbs up as well, Jasper. You good with that? Cool. All right, moving on. EQs, filters. Do I need to explain them in terms of like, again, not mixing, for processing? Maybe for processing, maybe for processing I do. Because EQ doesn't seem to make sense as a thing to use for processing, but actually it does. So, for example, I have a sound I generated, a drum sound I generated in a synth. Let's see what it sounds like. Take that off. Cool. Hang on a second. Where'd you go? Ah, bloody filter thing. Off you go. Where did I put it on? Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of these. Actually, I want more of a snare. I'm sure I've made some snares. Cool. Here's a snare. It's not bad if I say so myself. This one I made. But here's how you get more out of your sounds. Use an EQ as a way to, oh, you got it too? Yeah, it's hectic. It didn't show up in my weather app at all, did it? So what you can do is you can expand the EQ view. Just press this little icon here. And take note of where the strength of your signal is. So what I mean by that is where you see most of the information, the most peakiest peaks. I notice I got a fair bit here and also here. I'll make another node just so I can place it. Now, coincidentally, and I know this for a fact, right? These peaks are in harmonic series to each other. Okay, so the notes I have here is C sharp and B. Actually, no, this is a bit higher, which makes more sense. So it should be more closer to here. B, there you go. B and C. I mean, B and B. Makes sense. So what I can do is thinking about harmonic series and numbers and stuff like that. I can actually enhance my snare. So for example, an easy one is to go looking for another B up here. And using a bell curve that's nice and sharp ideally, so use your Q settings to sharpen it. I can bring out that similar range to reinforce the sound. I can even bring these out a bit more too if I want to. So increase the Q, add some gain. And let's do this here too. What's great about doing this method as well is you can kind of mess around with the harmonics as well. So you can, now you know these are in series, normally I do like 3 or 4 at least. I can just select all of them and just push them along to get different harmonics. That's gnarly, that one. So that's something I would advise you do. Obviously, ideally followed by a limiter, because you'll be pushing gains that are a bit silly. Look at these gains. Silly. So I would get into the habit of thinking when I'm boosting EQ to design the sound, not to mix. Mixing, you cut. That's generally speaking, you cut. You go the other way, right? But if I'm designing a sound, doing these kind of silly boosts, I would follow it with a limiter just to catch the peaks. Because I am very high, very loud. There you go, nice and fat. So that's a trick, because you might have found already working with your snares, you're like, it's okay, but it could be better. And how do you make it better? Is you add harmonics, and you do it this way, the manual way. And this can be applied to sounds that are rich and resonant, like snares, claps as well. Just tune it by ear to what you prefer. Kicks, I don't think so, unless you're going for a very unnatural kick. kicks I like to keep more pure. Although I have done it on kicks. So that's a nice way to bring in some extra relatable information, not just random boosts, but you're actually boosting in the harmonic series. So I'll repeat that. I found where the peaks of the information were in the sound, but the main thing is you just set up 2 or 3 dots. I say 3 or 4 is a nice healthy amount. Make sure they kind of reside over a harmonic series. So we're just doing octaves for ease. If you really want to do it properly though, you think about the music you're working on, what key it is, and you kind of tune it to that. But octaves is fine, does a lot already. But to make it, to do it the way I like it, is to do not just octaves, but half octaves. So what you're doing is harmonic ratios. So it's exactly the same when we're doing an operator. When you go 1 to 2, it's 1 octave jump. When you go 2 to 3, it's a half jump. So thinking it like that, you can add a 4th, and you just do the quick maths. B to B5, halfway through that is, actually I don't know. Let's figure that out. 6. Where's my keyboard? So B's here. B's there. So halfway should be F, I'm thinking. Looks F-y. Let's hear it. Put it on an F somewhere. Way. Okay. So use this readout here to find out. Oh, I'm close. F, 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 F. Oh. So that's a half step. Sharpen the Q, because you don't want to boost too much around it. You want to kind of get a bit more specific. Although you might want to. It's up to you. Let me go back to the snare sound, because that'll sound good actually. Doesn't work as well on kicks. Like I said, kicks you kind of want to keep more pure. Snare. Ooh, spicy. Yeah? Cool. Questions about that? Any questions at all, or thumbs up to continue? Question? Aha, nice. All right. Now, EQs, another application for EQ is really sweet filtering. I may have said this before, so apologies if I sound repetitive, but what's the difference between an EQ and a filter? Oh, that's hail. Oh sorry. Thunderstorm with hail. It's been a while. Difference between EQ and filter, anyone? Don't be shy. Sure does. Cutoff frequency. But isn't this the same? If I add resonance on the filter, isn't this the same? Well, dynamic EQs are different things. An EQ with compression inbuilt, but yeah, you see what I'm doing here. Filter EQ8 looks exactly the same, and believe you me, it will sound the same. So if I just pop in a single note of something, maybe a bass sound. Yeah, that'll do. Loop that John. All right, serum, serum, bass. Huh. What happened there? Let's key map these so I can turn it on and off. Make sure I set it to same-ish. Oops, 3860. Yeah, same-ish region. All right. So flicking between EQ and auto filter. Obviously that setting isn't too noticeable, but let's do 600. Gain staging much? Here we go. No. Pretty much exactly the same, right? So the difference between EQ and auto filter, it doesn't seem like a lot. If not, it's the same. In EQ8, with just one band, so let me turn these off, just keep the main one, it is essentially a filter, right? Because I'm cutting off stuff. Makes sense? Obviously with EQ I have more control, so I can get this happening. The whole dual filter situation. And of course I can do more, even more. Right? So auto filter is just a quicker way to achieve that and easier. That said, auto filter has tonal variation, so you got different filter modes here. And you can see the resonance shape change according to the different modes. Right? So there are different sound characteristics of the auto filter, but on paper they kind of do the same thing. Plus you get the drive. And you got the LFO here to create movement. So I can go, let's do saw downwards? Ramp down. Cool. Ah, don't do that. Do syncs. Do. So that's what it's good for, like automating a filter, auto filter. Right? But of course, that also means you can use this EQ for sound design and more customized filters. Yeah. So if I command join that. Oh, let's make it easy for myself here. Let's grab the pad. Seems a bit fast. Let's take some of these off. nice flat pad. Can't be bothered modulating stuff. I'd rather grab an EQ and do all this nonsense. So here we go. Let's set up a couple here, a couple there, a couple here, a couple everywhere. Bell. And let's implement what we did a couple weeks ago. You better believe it. LFO map. Let's do remote and let's do stray slow. Map it to you. Control the range. Map these other guys. Remote. Want different random LFOs. Let's map that. Stray. Give me this guy. Whoa. Need another one in the middle here somewhere. I want this one, number 7. Let's use a notch. Yeah, now we go. Here we go. Map. Okay, reverse this. Yeah. Filter has resonance, but resonance just Q, or adding a quality elements. That's what Q is short for, quality. And essentially, you're adding a boost at that frequency range, just like you do with a filter that has resonance. I'm just mapping to different shaped bells and notches I have here in Ableton. So I got the notch and the bell there. So with those two and mapping it to frequency with random LFOs or predictable LFOs, really up to you, you can create this interesting movement which borderlines on how phasers and flanges work and sound like. But I'm doing a custom version, a non-linear random version. And what's great about doing this is I can still keep my filter and the instrument separate. The problem with doing this random stray or random situation is, of course, you can't predict it. So you kind of need to record a few takes of this, make a new track, switch to resampling, and just jam out a whole huge section. Just record on it. sections of that and just choose your favorite bits because it's all there. Oops, what did I do? So yeah, you can just expand, double click this and see the overall recording. Just choose your favorite bits. From there, you can use Ableton's take lanes. Show take lanes just to see which parts I grabbed, and I can choose which one is my favorite. Just choose whatever one I fancy. Yeah, so EQs are very powerful. Is it a thing that you pull out often? I don't think so, but it's kind of cool to kind of play with the frequency content of your sounds, do more interesting things that a standard phaser flanger can't do. Yeah. All right. Questions about that, or can we move on? Thumbs up. Yep. Cool. All right. Sweet. Let's get rid of that. In the same token as spectral. So spectral effects, if you remember the notes here. Right. Same for both weeks. Filters, EQs. There's another one in there that is considered spectral, and spectral refers to frequency spectrum. So working with frequencies is a vocoder. Question. Has anyone here successfully set up a vocoder in Ableton? Yes? Is it easy, Jasper? Oh, today. Fresh. Yeah. Good stuff, Jasper. Jackson and Kieran, have you set up a vocoder? A traditional one? Like a Daft Punky kind of one? Nope. How about you, Kieran? Have you set up a vocoder? Nope. All good. Show you what you need. You need an audio track and a MIDI track that has a synth in it. The vocoder goes on the audio track, and the synth track, well, you can use whatever you want. So in this case, I'll use Drift. Let me just play some keys. Synth. Oh, did I put that on an audio track? Silly me. Drift. Some more chords. I could play it live, but I can't play it, so it doesn't work. So there's that, and there's my voice track. The input is going to be me on my microphone. Hello, hello, hello. Uh-oh. It's Demon Dave. Oopsie. Now by default, the carrier signal in a vocoder is noise, which people use to make their snares and hi-hats funky, I suppose. But what we want to do is set up external audio input from the synth. Rename that to synth. So what happens is, if I try and talk into this track, nothing comes through. But if I play my synth at the same time as I talk, I should get some sound. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Oh yeah, let's go pre-effects. Hello, hello, hello. Oh yeah, I just need input. Sorry. Hello. 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah. Hang on. Need to set this level. Let me mute this synth track. Hello. Oh, there I am. Cool. I need to arm this as well. Let me just mute these mini tracks. I will play it live for a second. So I'm talking, nothing's coming out, but if I press some keys, yeah, it's Dave. Daft Punk, baby. Welcome to sound design. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I just would like a bit more gain from my voice, if that's possible. How do I do that on my wireless system? No, I'm at max already. Oh well, it is what it is. Yeah. So, see the difference? I can see signal going to the vocoder, but I don't hear anything because I'm not pressing anything on my keyboard or not hitting play. It's not going through the MIDI track. So until I press something down on my keyboard, yeah, I can play with the settings, get a different format. So I get different characteristics of the voice, higher and lower. I can increase the depth so it catches me more. Yeah. 1, 2, 1. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And the idea, the trick is to really fine tune the bands. So you want to just capture as much as your voice you can, but also get rid of the other stuff. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right, sweet. I'll play this. And it's muted. It's muted. The track is muted, but when it plays through, as long as I have an input, as long as I say something, you can hear this chord progression. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's just record me saying something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Woo! Let's mute that track. Gotta say, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get the levels right. See how my level's a bit too low, but that's this wireless mic for you. That's why it's generally speaking better to compress the voice first. And this, that makes sense, doesn't it? My vocals are uneven, so let's compress it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I actually also have to use a gate to get rid of the noises before that. So this compression has brought up the noise floor. The gate is going to take out the stuff before that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just set the threshold correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Generally speaking, I like it without a lot of the low end. Just makes it sound more expressive. More bands means more control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's classic vocoding. If I take the Vogue out of the vocoder, I can put any audio I want. So you can imagine you can do drums. Oh. That might be a bit much, but I don't care. And when I pull the bandwidth down, I'm getting into spectral sound design. So I'm taking out a lot of elements from the different bands. So I'm cutting some things quite severely. And when I have the bandwidth at a lower quality, I get a very much the harmonic spectral sound. Which is a lot of fun. This is like cutting edge stuff, although we're using a very traditional synth. Because these days you get even more spectral sound design friendly plugins, although spectral resynthesis and those sort of things have been done 20 years ago. It's just now through artists like Flume, but more recently people like Virtual Riot, they use these more interesting facets of harmonic design, spectral sound design, to create different tones. And yeah, you can do that on all sorts of things. Like you can do on bass as well. Surely I've got some bass loops. If not, no problem. I'll copy this vocoder, chuck it on this guy, and mute it for now. Let's get a Serum 2 going on. So vocoder doesn't have to be on vocals. It could be on anything you'd like. Oh, that's low. That's my keyboard though. Need something a bit more sustained. Oh yeah. See how this sounds. Let's just draw a note. Draw a passage. Hello, keyboard. Ah, wrong track. My bad. There we go. everyone, I must say, but it's, hey, can't deny it's a bit fascinating and a bit different to your standard reverb, delay, echo, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So vocoder, very fascinating. And what I'm also trying to say, don't just use a standard noise, that's boring. It's very boring. Use external sources, use a synth to trigger it. Even the simplest of synths will do the job. And the instrument will do the rest. But yeah, if you must use noise, it's not as good. Although for spectral stuff, it's alright. That's a bit nice, that one. Where should you use it? Definitely vocals is traditional, can't go wrong with that. Drums, very nice, very nice. External, I showed you modulator and pitch tracking, not as useful in my opinion. Pitch tracking has its own oscillator inside the vocoder. I rather a bit more control over the sound. That's why we use the initial trigger, which is this beautiful, simple, classic analog sound. And that's always going to work with vocoders. Vocoders love that brassy tone, that brightness. The brighter, richer the trigger source, the better the vocoder will sound. If you use a sine wave, it ain't going to work that well. Although you can not listen to me and just do whatever you want. At the end of the day, I suggest though, if you want traditional vocoding, make it soy and squarey and bright and lush and unison and lots of voices. Questions about that? Thumbs up to continue. Yeah. Okay, cool. Do I need to talk about chorus, flanger, phaser? Did I talk about that last week? I can't remember. Do we want more information? Chorus? Okay. So chorus, flanger and phaser, they fall under the modulation stuff. So that means there's an LFO inside them creating movement. What's interesting is that they have the tradition of being based on delay lines. So a delay plugin. So you can make chorus and flanger and phaser effects using a delay. But that takes a bit of work. So why not just use a straight up chorus plugin, all right? So here's the sound. I'm going to make it flat again. It's not using the unison. What choruses does, without you knowing too well, is that there's another delay line added to the signal, moving at a certain rate, which is designed to emulate if you were to sing in a room and then suddenly you're joined by someone else singing the same part as you. A choir effect. So the classic chorus is 2 delay lines, hence the 2 squiggly lines right here. You can increase or decrease the movement, so the speed I should say. Lower rates give you that lush kind of sound, which I love. And faster gets a little bit swarmy. But at a healthy amount, get that nice, rich timbre. Yep, and of course, amount increases the amount of that separation between the delay lines. You see feedback, well, feedback can only mean one thing, adds intensity. Uh-oh, we have a flanger. That's to be expected, because when you add feedback to a couple of delay lines, you'll get a flanging effect. So that's only fair. But that's classic mode. Ensemble is the same with the 3rd delayed line, so it sounds a tad richer. This is modeled on the Juno chorus, which is quite famous for its lushness. So typically what I've done so far in class is if I make a classic patch, I tend to say add chorus, add reverb delay, the whole thing comes to life. Let's do this. Fast tempo. Extra voicings, that's what it's intended for. But of course, we can get accidental flanging effects, which we heard on classic was a sound on ensemble, even more crazy. Luckily, I can add some controlled elements to it, like controlling the low end content to avoid any real rumble. I can control the width and enhance the width. I can add saturation and low end bump by using the warmth. Anyway, you can hear that yourself. Phaser flanger, based on delay lines as well, but really key to use the LFO rates. It's so key that they added 2 LFOs in here. So that's the main LFO, this is the second one. Phasers, they had that kind of like sound where it sounds very like spacey and quite psychedelic if you want it to be. But the key to working with them is to set the center where the focus of the movement is around that frequency point. So by default, it's around the high mids, but you can move it wherever you want. And of course, you can automate it. If you want even more kind of interesting resonances at that area, you add notches to the damn thing. As you can see, there's an awful lot. And you can spread them. Sounds like a DMT chip. I don't know anything about that. That's just how I feel a DMT chip would feel like, I guess. We do not condone recreative drug use during TAFE hours. But you can imagine that with some reverb delay and you're straight into Trip City, aren't you? I think the key with phasing and flanging, if you want the kind of like spacey effect, you gotta slow the damn thing down. I'm using 6-bar rate cycle. I even like slower, uncycled, just loosey-goosey, low LFO rate. That gradualness is more powerful than something that's cyclical in name. Like if we do the standard quarter note stuff, it's just not as nice. Actually, not bad. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's because it's too fast. Yeah. too bad. Oh, interesting. Anyway, you do what you want. That's most important thing about the modulation effects. You do what you want. But I tell you one little trick. When you push the feedback high enough, you start getting new sound. You get resonances and this slight metallic character, which comes from the extreme amount of harmonics. Just like what? Just like FM synthesis. Too much FM gets metallic and harsh, whether you want that or not. And you get that with this effect too. Oh yeah, there you go. There's your. That's because I had the mix all the way up to 100. So it's a blend between LFO1 and LFO2. But yeah, this doesn't sound interesting to me. I like it. Flanger works a similar way. In fact, a bit easier. You just have a time between the delay lines. So there's 2 delay lines. Slow is juicy. But that said, it's also good for like some drum stuff. So if I put on a drum loop, actually no, that said, even on drums I like it slow, personally. Let's chuck a drum loop on here. Because I do like spicing up the, oh, no. I like spicing up my drums with some flanging a lot actually. So let's just do this solo that. Yeah, I still don't like the cyclical rate. So the longer delay time, it's more dramatic as well. And I love playing with flangers, especially for that this situation where, because the delay times are so fast, still even at 20 milliseconds, you get this slight note information, like you can perceive a note, which comes from that extreme modulation speeds, whether fast or slow. So I tend to use flangers a lot to do that jungle thing where I do that. I think I showed in class before, where it's like, as I've shown people with my jungle track, it doesn't matter. What I do is like I like tuning the drums and doing this. I don't want external in. No input. So I like doing this. Better repeat that because I got that pretty good. So let's repeat that section. And the problem is you don't have a defined key to work with. You're just using your ear and tuning it that way. Very strange, isn't it? Very strange. Some of my favorite producers, Sully, Special Request, they do this technique really well. But in that situation, you really want to control the width and where you're tuning it. That's pretty cool. Anyway, phaser flanger chorus in a nutshell, right? It definitely creates movement overall. That's why I classify under a modulation effect, and that's not an official term. That's just for me to remember. Helps me remember what effects do what. But yeah, modulation, the cause, it's meant to cause movement, but as a consequence, fast movement can create new resonances. I forgot to mention, I will put this in the new notes, revise my notes, because I thought about this literally last week, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good thing to do. So I was going to put in the notes, which hopefully I'll do by next week, because things are going crazy right now. But what I wanted to do under each effect is the cause and the consequence of each effect. So for example, going back to the EQ, the cause of the EQ is to change the volumes of frequencies. The effect is mixing, but also filtering. And if you were to move the filter, you get obviously tonal shifting. So I think that kind of situation is useful if I write it like that. But then again, I only just thought about that a few days ago. Question to you guys, do you think that would be helpful if I wrote down the effect and then the cause and then the consequence? That's my theory. Patented. Thumbs up if you like the idea. We got one. That's enough for me to do it. The other two, maybe. Oh yeah, two. Majority rules. All right, it's going to happen. I just needed time to do it. Okie doke, we got 10 minutes. What have I talked about? Distortion, wave shaping. Okay. Did you know, well, again, quick question. How comfortable are you, everyone present here, how comfortable are you with distortion / saturation / bit crush? Anyone? Pretty comfortable? Know what it sounds like? I tried saturation. What was your results? What did you notice? Yeah. Yeah. Wider. Ugh. No, we don't use saturation to widen sounds. We use Ableton's utility. We use chorus, as you know now, to widen the sound. I have put choruses and delay lines on my bass, but only in specific frequencies. I wouldn't put on the whole track. I would split it, ideally, with a certain technique or a parallel line. Let me show you what I'm talking about, because I realized that just meant basically nothing. Pretty sure I did it for this sound. Yeah, let's do a more defined version. So if you want to make your basses wider, don't chuck the widening tool on the actual effect by itself, on the actual track by itself. What you should do is you should group it into an effect rack, duplicate the chain, delete an effect from one of the chains, call that chain dry. So now you have dry signal. And then I also have the chorus one, which I can have fully wet. Make it really weird and super spacious. And even better is I can EQ it, so it only does it to the mid and the top end, so it's cleaner sounding. Because if I just widen my bass, I'm in trouble. And because I have the dry signal, I get the best of both worlds. So actually I should tune it better, somewhere about 300. And this also excuses you to doing silly things like I do, which is chuck heaps of reverb on just the, we'll call this the wide chain. Heaps cleaner, because if I just put these effects, just chorus and reverb on just the bass, it is complete mud, and the bass doesn't sound as good anymore. And the best thing is I can level it. So no matter how low the bass is, oh, too low. This is Ableton's best feature. Besides modulators inside Ableton, when you get with Suite, even on standard, you can build racks yourself, and it's just so easy to make these parallel chains. Right? I do so much of my mixing and processing with this and sound design with this. It's just too powerful. Too powerful. That's just wide. Let's make it even wider. I have a tool called Excite. Oh, not Excite. Widen. Let's do silly things. It's gonna be so wide that we can't hear it, but we'll see it on my millimeters. Hey, come here. Yeah, cool. Oh Jesus. Okay. There we go. Cool. That is extravagantly wide, but with the solid low end here. And in fact, I'll use utility to really control this. Utility goes in the rack on the dry, just to make it very, very middle. Super center, mix it in. It's remote gain staging, Jesus. That's the secret behind super technical production styles. So drum and bass obviously comes to mind. Hardstyle guys do this as well. Making super wide bass, but properly. Yeah. 5 minutes, Jesus. But yes, saturation, what does it do? Saturation is the precursor to distortion. And saturation is actually a non-linear, it's meant to be a non-linear behavior. So what it means is the sound goes in, then goes out at a slightly different processed sound, right? And the idea of saturation is very simple. You're just adding harmonics to a signal, creating extra loudness and extra information. In other words, if I put this sound, this bass sound through a saturator, and note I'm putting it after all this chain stuff because I want everything to be saturated. I'm going to get this boost in level. Already. And that's even more obvious if I choose the other algorithms. And one way to think about these algorithms is it's in order of intensity, all right? So this, so that's louder. I don't know if you can tell, but it is louder because it's clipping my channel now. And as soon as I add drive, it just intensifies this effect. But that's why there's an output makeup, so I can turn it down just to go with the drive. Just so I can focus more on the color of the sound. And let's try a more hectic curve. So these are starting to get into distortion. Luckily there's a dry wet, so I can blend as much as I need. And if you're brave, you go to Wave Shaper, which does nothing until you play with this stuff, which you only see if you press this little menu here. This is a custom wave shape. This is why it's called wave shaping, because we're literally shaping the waveform content, adding extra waves to it, and we can create hardcore distortions here. Yikes. Watch the output. And here's a trick. The more you distort the signal, the less low end you get. Why? Because it's exactly the same as way back when I said, if you want bass, don't use a sawtooth and use a sine wave. It's all about the fundamental. So if I distort, I'm chasing mid-range and high-end, high-range tone. You guitarists know what I'm talking about. But if I want clean, full low end, that's what I'm going to lose if I distort more. Whereas if I go back to the more saturation curves, my low end's more intact. My fundamental is still there. But if I go back to this, that is there, but it's less, it's slightly less. And of course, the extreme version is if I go into pure distortion. So if I use something like, oh, we only got 1 minute left. If I use pedal, which quite literally is the saturation to distortion to pure fuzz territory. That's the hierarchy to saturation to distortion right there. You heard it yourself. Fuzz sounds more intense, but you lose your low end. Although pedal, because Ableton's awesome, they allow you to keep some low end using this processor here. Fantastic, yeah. All right, before we go, let's talk about Redux. Redux is the opposite. It is bit crushing. It's taking a sound and taking the quality down, so making it break apart essentially. That said, it's beautiful if used well. The consequence of using bit crush when you're downsampling something is you actually get more aliasing, and aliasing is actually top end. So you get more top end, more treble. You get some top end artifacts from using this stuff. So I'll show you. Yeah, let's use this. Oh, gotta speed run this because my son's about to come in here and get his shower time for nap time. So Redux does this. It's a bit crusher. Redux. Love it. See, that sounds sharper? So I'm making it sound worse, as in I'm making this quality of the sound worse, but I'm adding aliasing artifacts to it. That's an extreme setting. That sounds like it's broken up. One thing I love about this is there's a filter in here. So there's such thing as a technique made popular by the producers of Drake called the underwater sound, which you can get using the post filter. Especially if I slow this down. So we've had it. And fun fact, allegedly, I've read this a few times, allegedly the producers of Drake, they achieved this effect by exporting the song at lower bitrate values and doing it 3 or 4 times to get that effect. I just laugh at that because it's like, dude, you just need to bit crush and use a filter. Why are you making life so hard? Anyway, that's Drake for you. Likes to make things difficult for himself. If you know, you know. If you don't know, that's okay. All right, any last questions? Any questions? Or we're good? If we're good, then hopefully you take these techniques. I know I smush them all together, but to be honest, audio effects is just too much you can talk about. I can talk about it for 4 weeks as opposed to 2. So I know I kind of smush it together, but it's because we've got even more stuff to talk about after this, like hardware and new forms of synthesis and stuff like that. So we'll we'll take a breather with this. Next week we go in a switch to talk about hardware and then beyond, and then we'll go back in the box later. All right, peeps. You got one more week for the assessments due. I hope everyone gets theirs in time. If you need more time, unfortunately, the application for extension is gone because it's 2 weeks before. It's the window for it's 2 weeks before the assessment's due. So I expect everyone to hand it in next Sunday. Okay. Any problems at all, reach out to me regardless, and I want to hear some sounds from you as well. 2 sounds each, yeah. And remember to put emphasis into the report. The report takes longer than you think, so don't sleep on that. All right, peeps, have a good one. I'll enjoy the rest of your week. Okay. All right. See ya. Bye.